Welcome to the world of Rex. It's Marvel Rex here. I am so excited to be with each and every one of you as we dive into the weekly energies from an astrological perspective for the week of June 9th to June 15th of 2025. Before we dive in, you can always support me as a content creator by Venmoing me, subscribing to the podcast, subscribing to the newsletter. You can book a reading with me. The link is all in the show notes. You can also follow us anywhere that you listen to podcasts. That would be very helpful. You can share the podcast, rate it. That helps me so much as a content creator. I am so excited about the big picture of this week and the day to day. I'm like really pumped for this week of June. And I'm going to explain why, but just stay tuned. Like, this is just me being like classic Tigger energy. If you listen to last week's episode, I talked about Jupiter, and I'm going to talk about Jupiter again. Jupiter is very much Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, like very excited. And I'm just so excited about this week. I'm so excited about Jupiter entering the sign of Cancer. Ding, ding. Listen to last week's episode to understand where he was prior to Cancer in the sign of Gemini. And we're going to really dive in to the big picture of what Jupiter and Gemini means. And then we're going to go day by day this week. So we're really excited about Jupiter, which is the planet of, belief, thought, faith, expansion, how we philosophize, how we choose to view our lives, and how the way that we frame our lives really frames like how we make choices day to day. So Jupiter is these bigger ideals, faith, ethics, morals, right? Jupiter is leaving Gemini. And as of this Monday, if you're listening on Monday, or if you're listening on Sunday, you're kind of like right in the last little pit of Gemini. But as of Monday, Jupiter enters Cancer, which is a water cardinal sign, very different energy than Gemini, like significantly different energy. Jupiter also enters his exaltation in Cancer. This is a good thing. So if you're listening, you're like, what is exaltation? It just means like really good. Jupiter's really happy to be in Cancer. Jupiter's like, oh my gosh, I was just like really dry and my lips were chapped over in Gemini. And like I was talking too much and I don't even know what I was talking about. And I like half learned French and learned how to, juggle with one hand, but I don't know how those things are helpful. And then he enters Jupiter in Cancer this Monday and is like, ah, I'm going to heal now. I'm going to put lipstick on or lip balm on. I'm going to go to the spa. I'm just going to really feel into my heart because that's going to help me take the right direction because I got so confused with Jupiter and Gemini. I really like Jupiter and Gemini. Or Jupiter and Cancer, not Jupiter and Gemini. I really like Jupiter and Cancer because we're about to get a lot of directionality from how we feel. So we're going to dive into feelings. There's going to be like all year. This is a year-long transit. So from now until next year, next summer, early summer for the Northern Hemisphere, we have Jupiter in Cancer. All right. And it's all about feelings. So this year that's opening up, this is the Jupiter year. It's opening up this Monday. It's going to place an emphasis on growth and expansion and philosophies that are really toned by emotional intelligence, compassion, the idea of the womb and being cared for in the womb, having empathy, being able to hold space for others, as well as being able to hold space for yourself emotionally, and familial and tribal connections, because Cancer does rule the home and the domicile, as well as people that you sort of feel like you have like a familial relationship to, whether it's, they don't have to be blood family, but familial ties, tribal ties. This is going to deeply impact the United States' chart because the US is a Cancer sun and is also ruled by Jupiter as a Sagittarius rising. So like the US, oh my gosh, just such a big shift that's going to be happening. I do hope, not the initial ingress, which is right now, but I do hope that once Jupiter clears the square from Saturn and Aries, which will be more so in the fall, and actually Saturn's going to move back into Pisces in the fall. So I think that there's going to be some powerful healing in the last quarter of the year when it comes to the Jupiter and Cancer stuff, where there's a lot more importance and values placed on empathy, being an emotionally hygienic person. By that, I mean like really not having energy leakage, not manipulating people, not gaslighting people, not lying. Like these are Jupiter in Cancer in its highest form, in its exalted, Jupiter here in its exaltation is like, I am going to learn to love more deeply. That's the Jupiter. Jupiter is a sage, a wise person. In Cancer, it's like, I am coming home. I am coming home to myself and I'm coming home to others and I am teaching that love. Jupiter in Cancer in a lot of ways is um I get a little bit of a Christ consciousness. I get a little bit of like a Christ archetype. Uh, I think of also famous, you can't think about Cancer without thinking of women and people who have wombs and like bear children. So I also think of like powerful goddess archetypes who are not destructive. They're very generative. They're very like, I'm holding space. There's a woman, I can't remember her name. She tours the world and she hugs people. And she's like, Alma, hugging Alma or something. I can't quite remember, but she literally just hugs people. I'll have to look her up. But people come across the world to like stand in line to get a hug from her. Like she is that powerful. So that is Jupiter in Cancer. We're all going to learn how to hug in a deep, powerful, beautiful way. We're also going to learn how to cry and understand that there's strength in tears, there's strength in vulnerability, there is strength in empathy. Okay, which is good. We need that right now. Like Jupiter could not have got into Cancer soon enough. I'm just like, we need that right now as a country. There will also be just more emphasis placed on people who have wombs, people who identify as mothers. Even if you don't have a womb, like everyone has an energetic womb. And so people who identify as mothers, who identify as caretakers, there's going to be a huge emphasis on you over the next year. It's going to be really, really big, especially if you are a Cancer rising, Cancer sun, or moon. Now, I want to talk about the last couple times that Jupiter was in Cancer so we can understand just, in a resonant way, what could potentially come up. So in 2001 to 2002, we had Jupiter in Cancer. You want to think back to your own life, what was going on between 2001 and 2002 when it comes to these themes: emotional intelligence, emotional hygiene, being able to care for yourself and others, loving people, being emotional in general, home and domestic issues. So in 2001, 2002, we did have a post 9/11 era where we saw a really strong global emphasis on security and community and the homeland. So the word, the phrase, the homeland is very Cancer because it's like, I have to protect my home. It's a crab that's in its shell. It has to protect itself in the shell. The shell is the home. So, that's kind of a darker one, but it's like there was an attack on the United States. The United States was like, we have to really protect our country. There could be resonant themes that come up this year, starting now. In 1989 to 1990, we had the fall of the Berlin Wall, which led to a reunification and a focus on national identity. And that was also a moment of it was interesting because a wall fell, but there was now a new sense of nationhood, brotherhood, national family. Like this is who we are. We're all related, and a healing ultimately with the fall of the Berlin Wall, which again, an archetypal word for Jupiter and Cancer is directional healing. It's a phrase, directional healing. Like we're healing in a direction, which is good. It's like we're not dispersed the way that Jupiter and Gemini was. It's like we are moving in this direction and it is healing. Now, in 1977 to 1978, we had a lot of grassroots movements that emphasized local communities and environmental concerns that really started to come into consciousness around this time. So, again, like caring for Mother Earth, I mean, that's a big one. It's just like environmental stuff is going to be huge on the table. The periods with Jupiter in Cancer tend to emphasize a turning inward collectively, reassessing our values around homeland, national identity, and our families. Including nuclear families, but also, where you come from, your family heritage, your epigenetics, etc. All of that ancestral stuff comes up with Cancer as well. Now, some anticipated themes that I thought about for this exact transit coming in 2025 is that there's going to be an emphasis on emotional security, a collective focus on creating safe, nurturing environments, both personally and societally. So we had Jupiter in Aries, Taurus, and Gemini the last 3 years, which is a lot about, Jupiter in Aries is like me, 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 me. Jupiter in Taurus is like my safety, my security, my money. Jupiter in Gemini was like, I don't even know, like what was happening. Just It's too much stimulation. Jupiter in Cancer is still a self-focused sign, but there becomes a more interpersonal quality with this first. It's the first turn of the quadrant. So it's like the first cardinal sign that isn't Aries, which is all about the self. It's like, okay, who am I in my family? And my family needs to be healthy in order for me to be healthy. That's a very strong Cancer urge, is to create a safe, nurturing environment for everybody, including the self. And cancers, and I know this because I have strong Cancer in my chart, cancers often feel like they need to take care of others, because if they can ensure that they are needed, there's a certain level of security in helping others heal. So they make good family members, good parents, good therapists. There's a certain level of like, I need you to need me. That's a very Cancer thing. I need you to need me because that ensures my safety and security, and I have family and a tribe around me. I have a culture that I can call my own, and I'm integrated. Cancer really wants to be part of the tribe, part of the community, part of the family. So the Jupiter here is going to emphasize and really illuminate, make that huge. Like, we're not going to be able to ignore these ideas. There's going to be a renewed interest in family traditions, cultural heritage, ancestral roots, like I spoke about earlier. It's powerful if you feel called to really understand your family at this time. Jupiter in Cancer is a powerful transit to initiate a genealogical deep dive, interview your elders in your family, interview your legacy. I mean, really powerful. Community building becomes really big here. With Jupiter and Gemini, it was a little bit like, ooh, neighborhoods, like what are we doing locally? That's interesting. But it was dispersed. Now with Cancer, there's a direction. And I will say, for a lot of folks with Jupiter and Gemini, there was a lot of tasting of like, this is a community, this is a community, this community, maybe that community. Jupiter and Cancer, you're going to start to commit to one community, or maybe two, but it's really like, you're going to find, you're going to drop a few communities that you're like, nope, that's not where I need to put my energy right now emotionally. You want to really follow your gut. The energy is just starting this week. Give yourself some time. This is a year-long transit. It's a powerfully beautiful, it's so beautiful. It's a beautiful transit. We're going to really start to cook with gas in a much more nourishing way once we get off of that square to Saturn. Again, month or two. We're going to need like a month or two to get out of that. But still, this is the beginning of I'm committing. Cancer is a sign of commitment. It incites an emotional experience. That's the cardinal, is like inciting an emotional experience that is for security and safety for a family. Building a group of people with love, with nurturance, with good food. I mean, Cancer and Taurus have a ton in common. A ton in common. What do we do for this year? Like, what do we do to, like, on a tangible level, to really support this energy that's coming in for the next year? We want to embrace the archetype of the nurturer. So self-care is the first thing. Prioritizing emotional well-being through practices that foster inner peace. Now, let me be really clear here. Ooh, I got Cancer in my chart. Let me talk about Cancer for a second. There is a difference between strengthening your shell so that you can go hang out with the other crabs in the world, the little crabs scuttling around. There is a difference between strengthening your shell so that you can hold emotions, which is like having a vessel. I can handle anger. I can take responsibility for my uncomfortable emotions and still hang out with the other crabs on the beach. And then there is a difference between saying, don't touch me, leave me alone. I'm in my shell. I'm doing self-care. So there is an isolating potential here with some people who are like, I am just focusing on self-care, especially with all this Aries energy. I'm just focusing on self-care. I'm just taking care of myself. And actually, I'm being secretly very reactive, using self-care as a sort of defense mechanism. So you want to be really careful. It's like, am I integrating more deeply into my relationships through this self-care? Like, am I filling my cup up so that I can go and hang out with my other crabs on the beach? Or am I just like hiding in my shell and saying that I'm like doing self-care, but I'm really just like checked out or isolated? So you really want to check this. This is the shadow of Cancer, is like, I'm just going to hide because I'm too sensitive. You want to also strengthen bonds. Like this is a perfect segue. You want to strengthen bonds because you've built your self-care routine up. Your shell is strong. You can handle when there's seagulls that are poking at you. You can handle when people don't have the same opinion as you or don't have the same feelings as you. You have a strong shell, and now you are strengthening bonds by investing time in relationships that offer mutual support and understanding. But there will always be conflict. You're never going to have an intimate relationship where everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I understand you all the time and I agree with you all the time." Like that's not reality. Let me just let me just put that out there. There's always going to be moments of conflict. The beauty of Cancer is being able to sort of love through the conflict, have emotional intelligence. So it's like, "Ooh, yeah, we're disagreeing and wow, what an opportunity for us to see things from a different angle and for me to value your individuality." The shadow of Cancer is you're my family. I and therefore we're not separate. And therefore, it's like the child not individuated from the mother. It's like I am my mom. And there's a lot of shadow in that because it's like then if there's a disagreement, there's somebody's not allowed to be themselves. We're in this sort of shadow group mentality, and it can get really codependent and really crazy. Cancer is a very codependently oriented sign. Now, that's just one side of it. That's the sort of underdeveloped side of it. The exalted form of it, especially with Jupiter here kissing it, is wow, we're finding freedom through deep emotional intimacy, but also knowing that to have deep emotional intimacy, there will be moments of individuation. There will be moments in the dance where the dancers separate and come back, and I can still be emotionally stable if there is a moment where the dancing, my partner or my family or my child separates from me. Cancer and Taurus to a degree, but particularly Cancer has a built-in radar sonar that's like, oh my God, this person's separating from me. I have to react right now. Otherwise, something really bad's going to happen. And so there can be emotional reactivity based on perceived separation because the Cancer is like, if we separate, somebody in the family is going to die. Right. And I just want you to think back to tribal Neanderthals, proto-humans, uh, early Homo sapiens, when they were moving around, which is very Cancer, they're moving around in their little tribe, they're going and hunting. If you separated from the tribe, you could die. And a lot of animals are still like this. Like animals can get really tribal because they're like, if I get separated, I'm gonna die. I always watch Animal Planet. It's like they're always like the cheetahs are always going after the babies, and the moms are like, "Don't get near the baby." Like that's Cancer. Like mama bear energy is Cancer. So the built-in mechanism with this aspect, it will get accentuated with Jupiter. Is oh, if I separate from my children, or if I separate from those that I love, they will die, or I will die. And the wisdom of Jupiter is no, actually it is beautiful, especially with all these the Aries energy that's going to be in the sky as well at the same time, Saturn and Neptune. It is beautiful to be deeply in concert with people that you call family and to trust them when they leave the house. To trust them when they leave the house. Like, oh, you're leaving the house. Okay, I trust that you're going to come back. I trust that you still love me. I trust that you're making decisions that are in alignment with our family core values. Or if you're not, you're going to communicate them because that's emotional intelligence. So this is what we're fostering at this time. All right. It's not easy. There will be uncomfortable emotional conversations, especially June. I love June as a month, but the square to Saturn is going to be really challenging for a lot of people who are emotionally immature. And I don't mean that as a judgment, but there will be a moment where a lot of people are going to have to enter into an emotional boot camp very quickly because they're like, oh, I need to let other people be themselves. I can't helicopter mom. Cancer is also a helicopter mom. That's a great archetype for Cancer in the shadow sense. Like, oh, I won't let my kid leave my sight, or my kid has to do what I want them to do because it makes me feel emotionally secure. That idea of I need somebody in my life to do something to make me emotionally secure is what we are healing, what we are changing and healing through Jupiter entering Cancer in a square to Saturn and Aries. That square, which is a crisis of action, says we actually need to let people individuate in our lives, including ourselves, and we can still be in deep, intimate relationships with them as they individuate, as I individuate. If you're like, Marvel, I don't know what individuation means, I don't know what this means, please book a reading with me. This is work that I literally do with clients every day, except on the weekends for the most part. Sometimes I do take weekend clients, but very rarely. Okay. Um, the things that we're going to navigate is we're going to be balancing ambition, Aries, with care, Cancer. So we're going to be constantly recognizing this year the pursuit of my own goals, and they may conflict. They may really run into conflict with my emotional needs and the emotional needs of the people that I live with and love. We will have to, with Saturn and Aries, we got to be slow. I was doing a real deep dive. I mean, I have a few podcast guests that I'm going to talk about Saturn and Aries. So stay tuned. We're going to have a few guests on the podcast, special episodes, bonus episodes. I'm really excited, where we're going to talk deeply about Saturn and Aries. Aries is very impulsive, wants things to happen right now. And Saturn and Jupiter in Cancer, really, Saturn by itself as an archetype is like, slow down. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. The baby being Cancer, right? Don't throw your family out with the bathwater. Don't get upset that they have emotional needs, even though you have all your career goals and you have all your big vision for yourself. We're going to be constantly slowing down, hitting the gas with Saturn and Aries for the next 3.5 years, even though we are in a Maserati. So it's like, we know the car can go 150 miles an hour. We're not going to actually go 150 miles an hour. Maybe we will for a second, but we got to slow down to 20 miles per hour because there's a school and there's children crossing the street, to go to school. So it's like, that's a very good analogy with Cancer. It's like, okay, I have to tend to the emotional needs of my tribe and my family and my homeland, and I'm still ambitious. I'm still really excited and passionate, Aries. So there's a really significant shift this week, especially, Monday is really the click in from, moving away from from this externalized Gemini experience of like XYZ, everything's real, nothing's real, fake news, uh, an emphasis on AI and digital technology. There's going to be a really interesting shift where we move towards, how are we feeling? On a very this is a collective transit, everybody. So this is not just you or your family. This is a global transit. There's going to be a strong level of definitely nationalism. I have to be real. There's going to be a really strong emphasis on, these are my people, these are not my people, or this is who I feel safe with, and this is who I don't feel safe with. The phrase "I feel safe" or no, or "don't feel safe" is very Cancer. And I'm going to ask folks, I'm not even going to ask, I'm going to say that the more you are integrating disparate aspects of yourself and transforming your karma and your trauma into workable narratives that empower you, the easier it will be to see every human as part of your family. And I know it's corny, but it's real. We are all related. Our nervous systems are literally tied across the planet. Our species is tied by our nervous systems like mycelial networks. If one person's hurting, technically everybody's hurting. And Jupiter in Cancer knows this on the highest vibration, that there is no such thing as like homeland versus otherland. The entire world is the home. Gaia, Mother Earth. The only way that we can really have this exalted form of Jupiter in Cancer is if we are doing the Saturn in Aries, which is creating a sense of self that is authentic, honest, brave, loving, not afraid of conflict, but not destructive conflict. Constructive conflict. Like, oh, we're disagreeing. What a wonderful opportunity to have very uncomfortable feelings and work through them. um, and then we're going to develop compassion and resilience through this process of volleying between Saturn in Aries and Jupiter in Cancer. I'm particularly, like, I have to say, like, I'm excited about this. I'm somebody who really likes to grow, and I like to be wrong. I like to learn. Um, I'm really excited for this potential, and I love the cardinal signs because they mark new beginnings. So a lot of wrap up happened to the first 6 months of the year. And for those who've been listening to the podcast for a long time, I want you to know that this is the halfway mark of 2025. And this is a whole big chapter turn. It's almost like the book is closing and a new book is opening up in terms of the global storyline, our personal lives. This is a really big shift. It's just a magnanimous shift. It's huge. It's gonna be really noticeable. I think it's gonna be, I'm recording this about a month in advance advanced is like no, yeah, a month. I advanced. I'm recording early, and I already know in the depths of my gut that we will see things manifest in the external realm in June that are just completely it's just a brand new paradigm. It's completely new. And that's what Aries likes. Aries likes new things, and Cancer likes new emotional experiences. But I will put the caveat here with Cancer. Cancer likes new emotional experiences in the effort to develop even deeper bonds. So the reason Cancers are often therapists is that they are very geared towards helping a person have emotional breakthroughs, moving it along emotionally. Like, okay, let's move it along. Scorpio is not like that. Scorpio's like, I'm going to hold on to this feeling for 50 fucking years. Good luck. Okay. I'm going to just hold that feeling in my little heart for a long time. Cancer is no, actually, we need to keep it moving. We need to keep it moving. There's a shadow, which is just like, I know a few Cancers who like constantly cause drama because they need an emotional experience, but it's not from a container. It's just from the desire to have emotional conflict in their lives. That's a whole other thing, not for the podcast. But, just mentioning that there's a shadow side to always wanting emotional intensity. We don't always need it, but there will be a huge emphasis this year on sitting with uncomfortable feelings and not being reactive, certainly. So June 9th, Jupiter enters Cancer. Monday, we have the archetype of the nurturer and the caregiver coming in full circle to this, beautiful moment. Like I said, everything I just said. The week is kind of quiet in the sense that, like, I mean, it's huge. There's huge things that are going to happen in the news, but in terms of other aspects, there's not much else happening other than Jupiter enters an immediate square to Saturn, and it's a dominant square from Saturn in Aries. I will just mention this right now that a dominant square from Saturn in Aries this week, June 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, like this whole week, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it for a couple weeks. The dominant square means that Aries is in position one. Aries has the lead. Aries is faster than Cancer, and Saturn comes in and is like putting a kibosh on Jupiter. Jupiter in Cancer by itself is like, oh my God, I love my family. Everything's, oh my God, it's like so good. The homeland, we're healing, we're healing. Saturn comes in and is like, there's so much work to do. And that makes a lot of sense. I'm recording this early, but it just makes so much sense with the United States. It's like the US is having a total chapter turn. It's huge. It's very destabilizing. With Jupiter and Gemini, it was supremely confusing. And now there's a turning point. There's a massive turning point where Saturn and Aries is like, we have to come up with an entirely new identity. We have to really heal the masculine part because Aries is men and masculine codes, and we need to address this right now in order to heal. We will not be able to heal Cancer until we address the Aries of it all. For us as individuals, it is I have to heal myself and have a container and a vessel, Saturn, around my own individuated process in order to be in concert with others on a deep emotional level, in order to love people in a way that's healing. So that's like right on the top. There's a lot of big decisions that are going to want to be made. I will be honest, like, I'll just give you a little insight into my background here. I'm first off, I have a movie premiere coming out this week. Like, as this is happening, no surprise. I'm really using this energy as a slingshot, but I'm doing it in a way that it has integrity, is for the love of others, is for the love of my craft and my career. This is happening in my 10th house. So, like, yeah, there's a lot of career stuff for me. Um, and I'm really ready to heal myself through my career. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm using this energy bravely. I'm like, okay, cool. There's a giant square in the sky. Like, let's go. Let's take some action. Let's do something that is rooted in love, rooted in healing, and is ultimately going to help heal the world. And I will, of course, keep my family and my close ones, in my mind's eye and make sure that I'm also tending to them. That's the Jupiter and Cancer piece, is like you're not going out on your own entirely, but you do have to have your own thing going on. That is Jupiter, that is Saturn in Aries, is I am focusing on where I can affect change. And in a way, no matter what age you are, it is, I am honoring my hero's journey and I'm learning to love more deeply at the same time. They can happen at the same time. Sometimes we're like, I can't be in a relationship because I'm like too focused on myself. It's like, actually, you can totally do both, and that's really integrated. Actually, it's really integrated to do both. Now, there is something that happens. There's something that happens on June 15th that is not easy. And I have to say it because like that's my job, is to tell you guys that this is not easy. So I really like Jupiter in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries. I'm happy with it. I'm like, there's a lot of potential. There is a little bit of a Debbie Downer moment, but there's so much potential. It's a new chapter. I'm ready. June 15th, though, Mars in Leo squares Uranus in Taurus. This is a really volatile aspect. Okay. So there's sudden, unexpected disruptions or actions. This aspect usually asks us to really assess very quickly our desire to express ourselves, Leo, with the need for stability, Taurus. Uranus and Mars, like together, they're both kind of mayhem daredevil sort of people, like people archetypes, planets. Yeah, I personify the planets, so it is what it is. It's what you're getting with World of Rex, but they're both tricksters. And well, Mars is not necessarily a trickster. He's just like a daredevil, especially in Leo. He's like I said, lead singer energy, but also pretty volatile, wild. You don't know, with even with rock stars, you're like, I don't know, like, are they on drugs? Like, I don't, there can always be things happening. It's a very loosey goosey, creative, wild Mars energy in Leo. Uranus is the trickster, as we know, chaos agent. And in Taurus, there can be a lot of instability in finances. So, like, not a great week, not a great week to spend a bunch of money. Not a great week to expect things to stay the same. Really not. And I'm realizing actually that Mars is squaring Uranus as I'm like headed into this movie premiere. And it's so funny because Mars is in Leo, Uranus and Taurus. It's just like, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be some interesting clashes with groups and with people. And maybe even for me, it's like someone might respond to the movie in a way that's really surprising. Or I just have to be ready for the unknown. And I would say for you, you have to be ready for the unexpected. Expect the unexpected as we get closer to the 15th. This energy is ramping up and is going to click into place on the 15th, but really you're going to feel it June 11th, June 12th, June 13th, June 14th, and I would say 3 to 4 days to follow. You want to be really careful. You want to be careful with traveling. You want to be careful with money. You want to just be mindful, especially on the 15th. Okay. You want to be very careful. There's a rebellious devil may care energy here. I would not take a huge risk in your environment at this time because the environment will be rife with risks. It's like we don't need to add fuel to the fire here. If you are a Leo, this is going to be really hard for you not to do because you're going to be feeling like you really want to create a chaos moment. And Uranus is like, yes, let's do it. So, very tense moment on the 15th. Um, yeah, there can just be really weird stuff happening with groups because Uranus in, archetypally sort of systems and groups. And then Mars and Leo is people who are very expressive, artistic, a little bit wild card energy here. I would just say archetypally for everybody, are you feeling seen in your world? Are you behaving, Mars? Are you behaving in a way that engenders being seen? Like, do you feel seen? Are you acting towards feeling seen? Are you acting honestly? Are you acting with generous expression as to where you are coming from? And are the groups that you're involved with, are they supporting that? Are they not supporting that? Are you maybe dealing with resources or other people's resources that, are not in alignment or are in alignment? There's usually an action that needs to be taken. So just, be ready for that. On the same exact day, Jupiter squares Saturn exactly. So that's, I was talking about that earlier, but the square perfects on the same exact day as Mars squaring Uranus. Wow. Okay. So there's a lot of tension between our emotional needs and our personal ambitions. As I said earlier, there's a striving in the highest form of this. There's a striving to find equilibrium between nurturing ourselves and pursuing our goals, nurturing others and pursuing our goals. Um, The combo with all of these planets coming to a head on the 15th makes me want to tell all of you to like duck and cover on the 15th and really like stay indoors. Like stay indoors. No, just be very careful. Be very careful. There's a lot of feelings in the sky above as below. I wouldn't make any big decisions on the 14th, 15th, 16th, and I would move slowly and carefully and use your intuition. The beauty of Jupiter and Cancer is like follow your gut. Cancer rules the gut, it rules the neural synapses that are in your literal gut that are deeply emotionally intelligent. So listen to your gut. Do some meditation if you are like, I don't know. If, you know, with these squares, other people, other parties can be pressuring you to take action. Ask yourself, do I need to take action right now? Is it a life or death situation? If it's not, then give yourself some time to think about it. This does look a little bit like bullying energy or pressuring. Like this needs to happen right now. We need to do this right now. What are you doing? We need to do it right now. No, we don't necessarily need to. So just assess that. Be very careful and assess that. There will be a test, I think, at the end of the week with all this Aries energy and with Mars and Leo. There's a test around, do I love myself enough to set my own pace? Do I love myself enough to say no? You know, Saturn in Aries can be a very strong no. Like, no. You know, Saturn in general is a no, but Saturn in Aries is, I'm finally saying no because this is not in alignment with me. And there can be erratic behavior with Uranus there because of the no that comes in. And this is just like, you know, I'll give one final analogy before we end. The 15th, which has a lot going on, to me looks like you're flying a plane for the first time, which is Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn in Aries. This is a new paradigm, like I said last week and this week. There's a new paradigm that has opened up for all of us. There's a new chapter or a new book of our lives. It's almost like you fly a plane for the first time. You've never flown a plane, and you're like, whoa, I'm actually doing it. I'm flying a plane. This is a whole new reality for me. And the 15th, it's like you're doing your first landing and it's bumpy. And maybe at some point you're like, I don't know if the landing gear is going to come out. And with Mars Uranus, it's like maybe I'm not going to live. Like there can be a moment on a more, and I don't mean this literally, but on a more sort of bodily level, there can be even a nervous system level. There can be like, am I gonna survive this? This is so new. It's scary. Like humans get scared by new experiences. That's part of being human. When we try something new, there's always a nervous system response to varying degrees, depending on the stakes of the situation. And this is pretty big stakes. Jupiter and Saturn are big stakes, like big life changes happening the farther you get out. You know, the farther outer planets you go, it's like bigger life stakes. So these are huge, especially if you are an Aries, Libra, Capricorn, or Cancer. Okay. So those four signs are like, you're really going to feel this. And then I would also say Tauruses and Aquariuses are gonna feel this as well as Leos and Scorpios. So those the fixed signs and the cardinal signs are really feeling it on the 15th. The landing is bumpy. It's unexpected. You're going to learn something on the landing. It does not look to me like a crash landing, although on global events, it probably will be. Just like FYI, global events, yikes. This hits Trump's chart super hard. And with Mars Uranus in a square, it can be really surprising. Like you're like, I didn't expect that tailwind. I didn't expect, you know, there's some sort of variable, and it can feel to the nervous system like a life or death situation. It is not. I look at this astrology and I'm like, it's not a life or death situation, but it is very disruptive and it requires bravery. Luckily, we have Saturn in Aries. So it's like, I'm going to be brave. I am going to land this motherfucking plane. Like, I'm going to land the plane, even though for a moment I'm really freaked out. I don't know, you know, I've done all sorts of crazy stuff in my life. Like I'm very open to experience. I love to do wild shit, as I'm sure you can probably figure out. You know, you take those tests where it's like, are you open to experience? I hit like the 10 out of 10 scale on that. I'll jump out of a plane. Like I don't mind. And yet there's always times where I'm doing something and I have that moment of high adrenaline where I'm like, I could die. And I've had a lot of near death experiences, but I have an eighth house stellium. So, you know, if you know, you know, but in those moments where the adrenaline kicks in, I always reflect back. I'm still here. You're listening to me on the podcast. I reflect back and I'm like, wow, I just calmed down in that moment instead of freaking out. In the moment of, oh my gosh, am I going to make it or not? I just got really present and I survived. Not saying that it was entirely my presence that made me survive, but it helps. So on the 15th, getting really present, getting really grounded, knowing you listen to this podcast. So now you have a forewarning, knowing that things will get a little bumpy at the end of the week. Reduce your variables. If you are trying to land a very wayward plane right now, just focus on the plane, focus on what you can control, and be deeply present. And this week will end a lot easier. Okay. So I love each and every one of you. Thank you for listening to the World of Rex. If you have any comments, please feel free to put some comments through Spotify. You can email me. The links are in the show notes. You can work with me one-on-one. If you know somebody who needs this podcast, send it to them. We are trying to grow the World of Rex here. And I love each and every one of you. And I'll talk to you next week on, yes, you got it, the World of